Alright, so at the end of our last video, Sussudio by Phil Collins came on. Now we're going to take a look at graphing in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, remember, is where y equals mx plus b. What's really nice about slope-intercept form is that it is a unique equation of the line. The equation that we have here is in standard form, and I could multiply through by 4 and get a different equation for the same line. So that's why slope-intercept form is a really popular form, because each line has a different equation, a different look to the equation. So in order to get this in slope-intercept form, we need to solve, sorry, that should be a plus. We need to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. And typically we have our x term before we have our constant, so that's the way that I'm going to write it, as opposed to 6 minus x. And being that this is IB prep, I would expect that you guys can multiply through by 4/3 to cancel the multiplication of 3/4. So my first term is easy, I'm multiplying by 4/3. Second term, I'm going to show a little work. I typically do this in my head, but just in case you guys aren't as comfortable with fractions as you should be at this stage in your math career. When I'm multiplying an integer by a fraction, I divide first. So the denominator is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 4 gives me 8. So now I have a unique form of this line. My y-intercept is 8. And my slope is negative 4/3. Common mistake that non-IB prep students make is to end up falling and running to the left, making both the numerator and denominator of the slope negative. But you guys know that when you have a negative numerator over a negative denominator, that simplifies to a positive. We do not have a positive slope, in which case our line would rise. We have a negative slope. Make sure that if you have a negative slope, your line falls. So only one of those numbers is treated as a negative. So from my y-intercept, I don't have room to go up 4 and left 3. So I'm going to go down 4 and right 3, making sure that my line falls. And again, because of my fabulous line drawing skills, I like to use as much of the graph as I can using that slope over and over so that I have a little bit easier way of making a straight line. All right, one last example. We're going to take a look at horizontal and vertical lines. So y equals negative 4. What I notice about this is that I have a y-intercept, y equals negative 4, but no x means no x-intercept. So if my line never crosses the x-axis, it must be parallel to it. And we end up with a horizontal line. And my x equals 2, again I have an x-intercept, x equals 2, but I have no y-intercept, so my line is parallel to the y-axis. And I end up with a vertical line. All right, here are the U-Try problems. And the song we have now is, I think we already heard this one before, The Heat Is On by Glenn Frey. All right, so remember with these U-Try problems that you try them before you come to class, so we have that peer instruction time right away when you walk in the door.